Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining me. My name is Adam Lane with Leading Lane, and this is the Leading Lane podcast, episode 3, with a special guest, Dr. Dave Schuler. Dr. Dave Schuler is out of Township High School, District 214. That is in Arlington Heights, Illinois. And I must add, the 2018 National Superintendent of the Year. So before Dr. Schuler introduces himself, I just want to tell you why I have him on here and how much he means to me. Is I met Dr. Schuler through the School Superintendents Association, and I am a graduate of the Inspiring Superintendents Academy. And Dr. Schuler, look what I have handy right here. Just had to show you. So we're gonna touch base on how much you meant to me and how much this academy meant to me. But let me turn it over to you. Tell everyone who you are and what you do.
Thanks, Adam, and it's a thrill to join you today. As you said, I'm superintendent in High School District 214 in the northwest suburbs of Chicago. Anybody who flies into O'Hare, we're adjacent to that, to the northwest. So I've been there for 17 years now, and I've been a superintendent for 25 years overall. I think being a school superintendent is the best job in the entire world. So it's a thrill for me to have the opportunity to work with aspiring superintendents like yourself to grow the pipeline for the profession. I also have the opportunity to work with AASA, the School Superintendents Association, on Redefining Ready, which is our national movement to redefine what it means to be college, career, and life ready. And then I also have a ed tech startup company that I launched about 3 years ago, which is a student readiness solution to track service learning, work-based learning experiences, and the college journey and application and acceptance process. So I'm thrilled to be here. I love the work that I do, and it's always awesome to be part of conversations like this.
Well, I love having you here. Before we dive in, I want to start out talking about networking, but I got to give you the joke of the day before we get going. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
So this principal works at a butcher shop on the weekend to make more money. The owner says, "You sell that last chicken, close up, you're out of here, full pay." Right at that time, a teacher walks in, says, "I need the perfect chicken for my company tonight. I'm having a very important dinner." Principal grabs the chicken, puts it up on the scale. Teacher looks at it. It's just a little too light. I need something a little heavier, a little plumper for my guests. Principal knows there's only one chicken, so he reaches down, acts like he grabs a different chicken, puts it up on the scale, but he puts his thumb on the scale to make it weigh a little bit. The teacher goes, "It's a hard decision. I tell you what, I'll take them both." So when I talk to my staff about integrity, I just gave you my whole speech. And I say, have a good day. The topic was integrity today.
That's great.
All right, I'm gonna dive in. Networking. So as a superintendent, what is the importance of networking? Who do you network with? And how did you ever get started in networking opportunities?
Great question. And I think so many superintendents or people thinking about the superintendency think that it's an incredibly lonely job. And I tell people all the time, and I've told you and your cohort, it's only lonely if you allow it to be lonely. There's an incredible group of superintendents across this country that want to support each other, network, and collaborate with each other. And so, for me, starting off, it was meeting my neighboring superintendents. It was going to my state association annual meeting. It was going to AASA, where the National Conference on Education, which will be this February in Nashville, Tennessee, and having the opportunity just to get to know people. And it's awesome because people have different experiences depending on what state you're in, what region you're in. But some of the core stuff is still the same everywhere, and there's somebody that's gone through what you're going through. And to be able to have people that you can reach out to and say, what do you do in this situation is so important. And especially over the course of the last 18 months, when none of us really had experienced anything like a global pandemic as a superintendent, it was even more critical for us to come together. And I say, all the time, I thought we collaborated pre-pandemic, but we really communicated pre-pandemic. We had to, in order to survive as superintendents, collaborate during the pandemic. And I don't think people that didn't take advantage of that, I don't know how they pulled it off. And I would argue that most of them didn't. which is why in order to be truly successful, you have to create a network. And no matter where you are, there's different networks. So if you're small rural districts, there's a rural district superintendents group. If you're a suburban superintendent, there's the Suburban Schools Association. You know, if you're a Council of Great City Schools, there's large county and urban district organizations. So no matter where you're at as a superintendent, it's incredibly important. And I know, your podcast, Adam, goes beyond just school and education. And I would say whatever profession you're in, it is just absolutely critical to create that critical friend network where you can bounce ideas off of. And when you're really, really struggling, you've got that person that you can call, and in a non-judgmental way, they're going to be there to support you and to give you some insight and advice. Because sometimes, you're so in the weeds, you can't see the big picture, and you need someone to help you reframe that every now and then. And so I think networking is beyond important. I think it's imperative and essential if you want to be successful in whatever field you're in.
And I agree. I think it's number one when you are growing yourself to that next level, or to open your eyes, to elevate yourself. And that's how you and I met. For the audiences, we've known each other for almost 2 years now, and we've never met in person. We've Zoomed, we've teamed, we've talked on the phone, we've stayed connected, but we've never met because when I came into the academy, that's when all the COVID protocols came into place. And we're coming out of there now, but and I got to give credit to not only you, but my other mentor, which was Dr. Mark Hansen, which is superintendent out of Elmbrook Schools in Brookfield, Wisconsin. So hopefully he'll get to see this. But, I look back at the cohorts, the district leaders in my cohort that you led. There were 23 of us in there, all district leaders from 19 different states. So when you talk about networking, it's the connection. We have reached out to each other over the last 2 years on procedures, policies, not only district, but state. Hey, how's your COVID safety protocols going? Are you having prom in your district this year? What are you doing about football games over in your state compared to my state? But it's so priceless because you're right. A lot of times you feel like you're the only person on the island and there's not even a person to vote you off. You're just stuck there alone. But when you network and have these connections, I have all 23 of these people in my cell phone. So I've got a school of over 230 staff. I very rarely ever have a vacancy because I can reach out to people and say, hey, do you have anyone looking to move to Florida? I need this, or I have a teacher, an amazing chemistry teacher. His wife just got promoted. They're moving to Iowa. You're in Iowa. Could you use a chemistry teacher? So the networking is amazing. Let's go into speaking about networking. How did you become involved as the leader for the AASA Superintendent's Academy? And what is your goal or focus for all those students in the academy?
Yeah, another great question, Adam. For me, I was fortunate enough to be elected to the AASA governing board and then the executive committee, and then was honored to be elected president of our national association. And as part of that, we launched Redefining Ready, and it's something I'm very, very passionate about. And as I was looking around, I saw more and more colleagues that were retiring. And then I saw this really interesting pattern where we had superintendents every 4 to 7 years who would move from one district to another district to another district. And because the school boards wanted experience. And I sat back and I went to our executive director, our amazing executive director, Dan Dominique, who's a rock star. And at the time, it was his associate executive director. Now the associate executive director is Mort Sherman, another incredible leader. And I said, I'm really worried about growing the pipeline of superintendents. Like, I don't want to, I think we need colleagues that can go into a district, be successful, and then move to a larger district, and then move to a larger district if that's what they want. And I see this pattern of superintendents moving from every 4 to 7 years from the same size districts. And so is there a way that we could partner together to create an incredible aspiring pipeline that we could work with search consultants to make sure that we're providing that next generation of superintendents? And, Dan and his team were incredible, and they said, go for it. And so, we're in cohort 6 right now. And, what I'm probably most proud of is out of all 6 of those years, I've only had one superintendent, graduate of our academy, who is not a sitting superintendent right now, who wanted to be one and who got a job. And I've told this story to you, Adam, but that's a candidate that I told. And I would say, and you've heard me say this, like, I'm not going to tell you to take a job or not take a job. I'm just going to give you my insight, and then you have to make the decision. But I remember it clearly. I was at O'Hare. We were getting ready to fly to Miami as a family for a Disney cruise. And I got a call, and he gave me the background information of what was going on in that district. And I said, X, I am not going to tell you to walk away from that job. I'm telling you to run from that job. There is no way anybody is going to be successful in that job knowing the dynamics of the board that you just shared with me. And he said, I can fix the board. And I said, no one can fix a board. You can work with the board, but you can't fix the board. And he took the job, and within 18 months, he was let go. And now he's trying to recalibrate and get back in the game. But that's really hard if you lose a job within 18 months. And so that's why when you and your colleagues, you're part of my family. And I take that really, really seriously. And so if you're going to take a job, I want you to take a job with your eyes wide open, knowing exactly what you're walking into, And so for me, it's all about setting you up, giving you the skills and insight and perspectives. And, someone like you, Adam, you're ready to be a superintendent. You didn't need my assistance and insight. You're just that incredible of a leader, as many people are. But hopefully having a network and a connection and someone to bounce ideas off of just prepares you to be even more successful when you step into that role.
And I appreciate those kind words. And what you've taught me is, regardless of what level you're at, do the best where you are, be actively still, stay in the game, but don't force it. Whether you're a teacher trying to become an assistant principal, an assistant principal trying to become a principal trying to become a superintendent, if you want it and you stay active and you stay in the network, you're going to get there. But don't force it faster than you should. Or like you said, you're going to be swimming upstream trying to get back in the game to try to get back to where you were. So speaking of conferences and networking, tell us a little bit about the Aasa Conference coming up in February. When is it? Where is it? And what should we expect? And why should people go there? I know they could go there to meet you, but what's one other reason? Because that would be enough.
No, I don't know about that, but the National Conference on Education this year will be held February 16th through the 19th. It actually starts, I think, the morning of the 17th in Nashville. I think people should attend for a number of reasons. One, Nashville is just a great place to go. Two, it's an awesome opportunity to network. Three, the academic programming provided is really, really top notch. This year, it's all going to be focused really around 2 concepts. One is Learning 2025, which is the national commission that AASA put together to look at a student-centered, equity-focused education for 2025. And I think that's going to be awesome. Equally as awesome, President Paul Imhoff, who's our current AASA president, another incredible superintendent from Ohio, has launched his national initiative, which is Live Well, Lead Well. And I just think that it's so powerful. I saw Paul a couple of weeks ago and we were talking about it and said, look, we can't lead well as superintendents if we don't live well as human beings. In the last 18 months, have taken a lot out of us from a living perspective because we've been working 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, not knowing if it's a Tuesday or a Sunday. That's just kind of what our world has been. And people are like, what about your weekends? I'm like, I've got 2 words for you, contact tracing, And so to be able to get together and think about our own well-being as superintendents, in addition to stretching us to think as how we create this new education paradigm for 2025, I think is really important. I mean, think about it, Adam, we're a fifth of the way through the 2000s, right? And we're still talking about 21st century skills. Like, what the heck are we doing? We should be talking about 22nd century skills, right? And so many of our classrooms still look like they did in the 1800s. Like, that is so on us as leaders. Like, dream, lead, innovate, iterate, don't make excuses. And I'll just say this, I know this is a little off topic and I apologize, but like, anybody who says you can't is because you put up a barrier in your mind. And this old fat man does not deal with barriers. I deal with hurdles, because for hurdles, I can go over, I can go under, I can go around, or I can just knock it over. But I'm going to figure out a way to get it done if it's right for kids. And that's the fun part. Like, yeah, you throw a challenge at me, we'll figure it out, you know? And that's got to be your approach, rather than, oh, I wish I could, but state policy says I can't do this or I can't do that. Figure out what you can do. Like, growth mindset, people, growth mindset.
This is the most difficult challenges that grow us the most.
That's right.
I've always agreed with it. Hey, so there's a rumor about a aspiring superintendent graduation ceremony going on at the conference, I hear. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, we're going to have a graduation ceremony for our aspiring superintendents. It's going to be awesome. We're working on some guest speakers right now. All of our aspiring graduates will be recognized during the general session as well. And I'm really excited about it. I've been talking with a couple other corporate partners and some of our sponsors to maybe do it up a little bit even nicer than what we currently have set up. So I'm really excited about it. AASA is super supportive, and it'll be a large group, because we're actually going to do graduation ceremonies for 2 cohorts, because we weren't able to get together last year, and it's going to be terrific. And if you haven't been to the convention center in Nashville, it's really, really cool. It's actually, I see you have guitars behind you. Their general session stage is actually shaped like a guitar. That's how they built it. So it's really, really awesome.
You and I are going to go rock out on guitars while we're there in Nashville.
Sounds good to me.
So we're talking 2 cohorts. You know, we're probably talking about 50 graduates out of the Aspiring Superintendents Academy that have never met each other in person. So look into the camera, give them your 30-second, I better see you there, because we'll send this to all of them.
Oh, that's great. Well, I better see. I will be so upset if you guys don't show up, unless there's a family situation that takes place. But I mean, we've had such a great time. And I think before COVID, I wouldn't have thought that we could have created the connections we did via Zoom, because I'm just an in-person, kind of guy. But I feel like I know all of you so well. I feel like I'm really invested in your success. And it would be a really bummer if I couldn't shake your hand and give you a hug as you walk across that stage, or give you a toast with a glass of wine after we're done with the actual ceremony. So I really encourage everybody to show up and be there.
Thanks. And we'll send this to them. We'll make sure
awesome.
It gets out. So I'm gonna look for a little advice from you. Now, you've served as a teacher, an assistant principal, a principal. You're a successful, stable superintendent. Some people out there keep interviewing and just haven't landed. Some people out there are just not ready to interview, and they're waiting for that first one. What advice can you give for people as they set out on that path to hit that next level, whether they're not making it or they haven't tried yet?
Well, if you haven't tried yet, I would tell you, put yourself out there. Because if you're thinking about it, you're ready, right? If you've been in the search process and you just haven't found the right fit yet, I would strongly encourage you to reach out to a search consultant in your area, and talk with them. Tell them that you're interested in a position and you just haven't landed. You haven't been on slated to be part of a slate presented to a board. That's totally cool. They're not going to take that as a negative. They'll take a look at your resume. They'll find out some background from you. And in all likelihood, they'll support you moving forward. And if they don't have an opening for you, somebody else will. And so, depending on the region or the state you're in, there are different search consultants. You're in Florida. The Florida School Board Association runs a number of searches in Florida. Other places, there's national search consultants like HYA Search or School Exec Connect, which are great associations. McPherson and Jacobson. Ray and Associates are probably the biggest names across the country. Hank Harris does a lot of work on the West Coast. But reach out to the search consultants and talk to them. Find out why you're not being slated. Ask them if there's a deficiency in either your resume or your background. And if there is, fix it. Maybe you have to pick up a course. Maybe you have to volunteer. Maybe you have to do an internship with a district official because people don't think you have enough budgeting background or, instruction background if you come up solely through the business side of the world. But I would say, go for it. The biggest challenge I will tell you that I've had leading the Associate Superintendents and Aspiring Superintendents Academy is when people don't get their first job. because most of you have been very successful and you've gotten every job you've applied for. And most of us, the superintendents, didn't get the first superintendency. Most of us had to apply 3 or 4 times before we got our first gig. But some people, they take that initial fact of not getting selected as a rejection, and it's hard for them to get back out there a second time. And so I would just say that if that's the case, you want the right fit. And if the board didn't select you, it wasn't the right fit. So continue to look and work and figure out what might be a better fit for you to start. But you've got to get yourself back up. The resiliency that you display in your work every day has to be part of your search process, especially after that first time if you don't get your first gig.
Excellent advice. And just like you've been a powerful mentor for me, and you're always there, whether I call you or we're on a Zoom meeting, I also mentor teachers looking to become assistant principals and principals, or assistant principals looking to become principals. And the main problem I find is they're just not open to moving. And you've taught at this school, you want to be an assistant principal at this school, you want to be the principal of this school. Like, unless you're willing to network and move, maybe to another school, maybe to another district, maybe to another state. It's the opportunities with the growth mindset, like you're saying, of I can leave this town and go to another school and be successful, but that takes a lot. And some people just want to stay right where they graduated from, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just the opportunity's not always going to be at that one location.
I met with one of our division heads yesterday and said, look, I think you're amazing and I want to keep you in the district, but if you're ready to grow and we don't have an opening, I'm super supportive of you too. I want to grow educational leaders. And I said, and I'll lend you out. Like, I'm not letting go of you, and I will hire you back at some point in time. But if this is the time and you're ready and we don't have an associate principal opening, go, I'm super supportive. Just know I'm going to come back and make a really hard play for you in a couple of years when we have a principal opening. And that does a couple of things. One, it gives them a little bit more confidence. 2, it gives them permission, because we have colleagues who say, if you leave, or even if you apply, I'm never considering you for a position, right? And that's absolutely awful. We should all support people growing into being great leaders. But 3, it also lets them know how much I think of them. And I really do. I'm not going to say that if I don't want that person to return. And I had probably 3 people in the last 2 years where I don't have an opening, and so they've left the districts, but every quarter or so I grab a glass of wine with them or grab lunch or dinner with them, because at some point I am going to have an opening and I'm going to want them back in the district. And I think that's what we all should be doing as we're thinking about growing people into better educators and educational leaders, right? Let them know the good work that they're doing.
Absolutely. And the district, my first teaching job out of college, through 10 years of teaching into 5 years of an assistant principal, it was all in one district, but the principal vacancies just were not there when I was ready. And timing is everything. But I was in a cohort with 5 districts as assistant principals to get our state license. So that opened up an opportunity in another district. Now, as crazy as it sounds, I drove 5 hours a day to get to work round trip for 2 years, but sometimes you have to make that sacrifice. And trust me, that Tampa traffic, getting from Clearwater Beach through Tampa over to Polk County and back, you just cannot find a smooth transition time at all, but we got to do it sometimes.
Hands
or you
down.
Don't know what you'll miss.
Exactly. I agree completely, Adam.
So Dr. Schuler, for this last 7 minutes, let's transition from leadership to the lead guitar. You ready?
All right.
Okay, so here's what I want to know. What is your favorite go-to music and why? And within that, do you have a favorite band and why?
So for me, it's all about what's going on in the background. Like if I'm thinking about stuff and I'm really trying to process, I'll always do a Josh Groban or a Ben Platt kind of music. If I'm like on a plane and I'm, all excited and jazzed up and fired up, my music's super eclectic. You can't go wrong with, country music, Dolly Parton, but I also am a huge John Legend fan. you know? And so it all depends on the mood or the feeling that's going on. And if I want to go way back, like if I'm up in northern Wisconsin sitting by a campfire, you're going to hear some John Denver going. So it just totally depends on my mood.
So you're excited for Nashville for a number of reasons.
I am. I'm super excited for Nashville.
That's awesome. So maybe we hit the opera together? Maybe.
Works well for me.
Okay. So is there a favorite concert that you went to that like you just wish you could stay there forever? It was so memorable and enjoyable and you were just like, wow, this is it.
This is probably a totally guilty pleasure that people are going to roll their eyes at. But if you have not been at a Britney Spears concert, you do not know what you're missing.
I never imagined you going there. Share a little bit. What is that experience like? I have not been to a Britney Spears concert.
She puts on an incredible show. And so we were fortunate enough to go and see her in Vegas on my birthday, and ended up getting brought down to like the dance area right by the stage. And so it was an incredible experience. She is a phenomenal performer. Dave Matthews also puts on a great concert, but it's a totally different experience, as you would imagine.
You went from here to here in 2 concerts. I love it.
I told you, I'm eclectic when it comes to music, Adam.
But that's the beauty of music. It's all over the place. And I can tell you, I've been to see Michael Jackson and I've been to see Hank Williams Jr. And they're just 2 different experiences, but they're awesome.
That's right.
Hey, so as we wrap up, if someone would be interested in contacting you, maybe for advice like I am, maybe even getting involved with the Aspiring Superintendents Academy, how do we reach out to you?
Yeah, shoot me an email. My email address is david.r.schuler, SCHULER, @gmail.com. I'm always interested in connecting with people that want to grow into superintendents, and I'm always open to anybody that wants to just talk and connect. And if you're interested in redefining Ready or in our software business, feel free to reach out on those 2 topics as well.
Well, Dr. Schuler, I appreciate you being here with me today. I appreciate all the mentoring you've done for me and developing me and growing me, because you were like my helicopter pilot, where you took me from the principal lens of watching your campus, but looking up at what's going on at the state. And you took me way up to the superintendent level of just looking out over everything. And you always need someone to be your pilot to take you there. So thank you for that. Again, I am Adam Lane with Leading Lane. This is Leading Lane podcast number 3 with Dr. Dave Schuler. And if I can ever be of any assistance, please reach out to me and meet me at the Leading Lane. Thank you.